The following program contains graphic language, which may be offensive to some viewers.
Welcome back. Delinquent Chronicles, episode 11.
Yes.
I finally got it right. First time. I didn't have to go,
Good. At last, one of them is understood.
I'm here today. I'm El.
I'm Neil.
Jose,
who I want to throw a 5 up because his fucking phone is on.
yeah, I literally just turned it off.
He's turning it off. He was
Not-
preemptively turning it off.
Preemptively turning it off.
I don't see how that works to give me a 5.
I didn't though. I said
Okay.
I wanted
No,
to.
but you thought about it. There's a difference.
Don't even think about it, pal. Don't even think about it. Sit down.
I think about kicking children. Doesn't mean I do.
Ready, Ike? Kick the baby.
Don't kick the baby.
Kick the baby.
Depends on the child. Let's be honest.
And who's?
There's
And whose child? Yeah.
There's certain kids that I've seen, and I'm just like not like I want to like freaking Eric Cantona.
Au revoir.
You know,
What?
collars up, blast you into this millennium. But like, you know, just a forceful little like shove in the back, send them face forward, just slide you across like a polished floor.
Like in Terminator when
When he pushes his face. Yeah, it's
This is actually so we've actually surpassed 10 episodes. This is episode 11, obviously,
Yes.
as we can all count.
Wow. You can read the brochure.
But this is, as we discussed, obviously we've done mug shorties a few times, and that's not going to go away. But in this episode, I wanted to do a bit of a conspiracy theory episode, because we have the 2024 elections coming up. Trump 2024.
I'm gonna come.
MAGA. That's me anyway. I don't speak to anybody else, but it's just me. But loads of conspiracies flying around. We got aliens in the sky. We got loads of stuff. We're going to keep it to a tight hour, but I want to be able to talk about some of this stuff. And so what I did is I had a conversation with Neil, and I said we should all come up with a few subjects that we're interested in that we're not going to talk about outside of the podcast. We're only going to talk about in the podcast, so that if you don't know about it, it's new to you. So without like ruining too much for everybody, I think we want to talk about a few conspiracy theories, and if you guys want to join us here today, and whilst we do that, we'd love to have you. And then we're just going to shoot the shit for a little bit about that. So I'm going to start with Neil, and I'd like you to tell us a few little conspiracy theories you've been thinking about recently.
Right. Well, the biggest one, I'm gonna start with the big one, is about the ocean, about our ocean, right?
All 7 seas.
All right. So you brought to my attention something a couple of weeks ago. I think you brought it to my attention on the podcast, or when we were talking around it, was that things like gravity and your like DNA stop people. It means that we grow to a certain point and then we stop.
Did I say that to you?
I'm more than positive that it was you saying it to me.
That sounds way smarter than what I can come up with, but okay.
No, but that rule only exists above land. So because of things like gravity, you know, we can only grow to a certain height, a certain size, because once we get too big, our organs start failing and gravity is too much, you can't walk, things like that. That doesn't exist on
I forgot what it's called actually. It's like a size multiplier, and it basically says like
To
the
the power.
larger you get, the less the more gravity's effects has on your bones. So your bones have to be denser, your muscles need to be bigger.
Yeah.
Which is why, like for example, a bipedal robot that's large wouldn't really work, because one, like if you look at like humans and the way we walk, it actually is pretty lucky
Efficient.
that we're actually to be bipedal humans. Like, it requires a lot of ear balance and a lot of other things that are involved in that process, which is why like large robots like Pacific Rim just wouldn't work. Like physically, it just wouldn't work. They're just too big to move in real space. But yeah, go on.
Right. So there was that, and that kind of led me down a rabbit hole because I was thinking about things like, a kraken. Was it Megalodon, the shark?
You may want to tell people, just in case they were born in like the fucking under a rock, what a kraken is, what the megalodon is.
Kraken is a giant, like supremely giant octopus. Like, when you hear tales and it's like, the like
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, all things like that. And there's this giant octopus. Anyone who's seen the Pirates of the Caribbean films, the kraken in that is a big octopus. That is.
They also what's
Clash of the Titans.
No. What's that black singer's name? What's her name? Lizzo. That fucking bitch.
You stupid bitch.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Delinquent Broadcast. I gotta say some fucked up shit somewhere.
Well, I mean, technically you're right, because I'd say more of a kaiju.
That one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
Kaiju's just a large
kraken,
monster.
is it?
Yeah, fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Dumb bitch.
Yeah, sorry.
But there's that. And a megalodon is a giant shark. So anyone who's seen the film The Meg, The Meg is short for megalodon. If I'm saying it wrong,
no, I don't.
AKA the film where Jason Statham beats up the shark.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, I've watched a number of videos. Admittedly, a lot of these were on things like TikTok, so fact checking is a difficult thing. But I did manage to do a little bit of fact checking into certain things. Now, there was a guy, I have to get my phone for this because I need to remember his name. The man's name is Mike Dugury, right? Or Diguri. If I say butchered his name, it is what it is. He was he used to be a cameraman or like a documentary filmist, and he was filming underwater. He was deep low underwater, and he found a lake underwater.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing about this. Go on.
Guy,
this is so fucking interesting.
Yeah, see the look on your face, Joe. I had that for ages watching this video. Right? He's like on national TV. He's being interviewed, and he's talking about him and his camera assistant are in a submarine. They're underwater, and they are seeing basically because obviously when you're that deep underwater, it's just pitch black. So they've got their torch lights on, and they can basically see rocks and little things here, and then they can see this weird like circle, like a hole almost, and they go closer and closer and closer, and they get there, and it's a lake, because they can see, how if you're standing on the shore looking at water, a body of water move, you can see how it rubs up against the shells, or rubs up against the shore and then goes back. It's going back and forth.
It's got like a tide.
Yeah, it's the tide. Thank you. They're already underwater, and they're seeing a tide go up and go down this body of water, and then there's rocks, and they're seeing like an eel going up and down, going near it, and they're like, what is going on there? So they decide to try and investigate, and they go to take their submarine to go down into the lake. And the water was so dense, the guy said it was saline. It's so saline and so dense that their submarine that they're in bounced off of it. Like, yeah, it bounced off of this wall like it couldn't penetrate it.
One of the strangest places on the ocean's floor was only just discovered in the 1990s. I might agree it's one of a handful of people to ever see it in person.
Without a doubt, one of the most amazing things that I had ever seen in the bottom of the ocean. And it was while filming for Blue Planet. It was in the Gulf of Mexico. And I noticed there's something out in the distance. Couldn't tell exactly what, but it looked like a dark band. And as we approached it, the dark band became a donut. I saw this donut that was black in the center. What the heck is that? And so as we get closer and closer to it, I noticed that the black band had what appeared to be kind of steam over it. And then I looked, and there was water lapping against the shoreline. This band was a ring of mussels. And inside the ring of mussels was a lake. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm already underwater. We went out over the water in this lake and tried to descend in it and bounced off. It was so super saline and dense that the submarine couldn't go down in it. We literally bounced off, and as we bounced off, we sent ripples heading back to the shoreline. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Now that makes me think of in the film The Meg, where they say that there's like the trench or whatever it's called.
Mariana Trench.
Yeah, Mariana Trench. Because that's it. That came up in my little investigations. That this trench, it basically there's a layer, like a barrier that separates what we know is the ocean from what we don't know is the ocean. And underneath that rule of you can only grow to a certain size ceases to exist.
Right.
So you can get megalodons, krakens, fish, things that don't exist above there all exist below there. And so there's that. Now this guy, he found it and he recorded it and he said everything he said, and days after this thing went public of what he said, he dies him and the guy with him die in a helicopter accident.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They got Kobe'd.
They was like, it was like, data, what do they call it? Not restricted, redacted. They got redacted.
Right. So they got too close to something and said, we can't let anyone find out about this shit.
Now, I also looked up, and I was like, this is wild. Now I started to look up little things like, why have we explored more of space than we have of the ocean?
Allegedly.
Now, technically, we haven't. Because when I looked it up, it said that we've explored around 5% of our oceans. But they said when you think of how big the galaxy is, or universe, they said we've roughly explored about 5% of that as well. So it's roughly equal to it. But what got me as a trip was, so they say that NASA, at one point in time, NASA was like, we're gonna stop going to space, but we're also going to explore the ocean. We want to map out the ocean.
Or James Cameron will.
His name is James Cameron, the bravest pioneer. No budget too steep, no sea too deep. Who's that? It's him, James Cameron.
Systems are normal. You guys hearing the song okay up there?
James Cameron, explorer of the sea.
Yes, James, we hear the song.
Descending to 1,000 feet. I don't see the bar yet. Looks like it must have sunk pretty low.
With a dying thirst to be the first. Could it be? Yeah, it's him, James Cameron.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Which is starting to make me think that James Cameron, I'm starting to think that he is like, I don't know if he's built his own Iron Man suit or he made a deal with some higher up powers that are like, some real sentient beings. Because I'm just like, I wonder if somebody tried to kill him if the bullet wouldn't explode in their gun. Before they aimed at him, they pulled the trigger and their gun exploded.
He won't stand still.
Because you know him, he'll go wherever he wants to do, and he's like, I want to make Avatar, I want to go underwater. We're going underwater. So NASA now was looking under, they were like, oh, we're going to map out the ocean so we know exactly what's under there. Now the thing that I fact checked, they said that in 1978 they stopped, and they were like, so they started, it says that they started in 1958, and then for 20 years, and then in 1978 they were like, yeah, we're done. We're going to space, or we're going back to space, which don't really line up, because you think like the Apollo missions were in the 60s, right? So when I fact checked it, it said that was incorrect, that NASA never said we're going to stop. But I also think, why do we never hear about real exploration underwater? It's always the same things you really hear underwater. It's the coral reef, or this reef is dying. The Titanic's down there. That's about it.
Yeah, that's usually about it. Yeah.
But I would say also the pressures are so much worse though.
Yes.
Like the pressure of water, and you got the whole like the fake billionaires dying underwater.
Yeah.
Because that was fake. That was so fucking fake.
Enlighten me. I'm not. Don't lie to me. I swear to God. Don't lie to me.
Even that, right? When they say, like, when they were talking about them boys going to see the Titanic, and then the whole thing imploded and they were done and all of that. Until I'm given concrete evidence of something, it doesn't matter what the subject is, until I'm given concrete evidence, everything's a maybe.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
It's a educated guess. It's probably true, but...
With asterisks.
Yeah, asterisks. Put asterisks next to everything.
Yeah.
And I had too many questions that came up whilst looking at this ocean thing. Now, what really got me is, what is down in the ocean other than the pressures of trying to get down there? What is it in the ocean that we're not just researching it?
Interdimensional beings.
Yeah, because there was also a thing where I saw this video, and again, everything, no matter how wild or crazy it is, gets an asterisk. This woman was like, there's I think it's called the Hollow Earth theory.
Oh, yeah.
That was going to be my next thing, but the Hollow Earth theory kind of latches onto this, which is that the ocean is a barrier.
We're supposed to be in there.
No, you're not.
My girlfriend's in there.
Hey, a lot of people's girlfriends are in there.
Denied.
And beyond the ocean is like a whole other civilization. Now, the thing that caught me on it is, like, I do firmly believe that a lot of times things are presented in films and TV shows and in entertainment to basically prepare you for the idea that this thing could exist.
You psychotic nerd!
Listen, Paul is from a small M-class planet in the northern spiral arm of the Andromeda Galaxy.
Thank you.
He looks too obvious.
There's a reason for that, Clive. Over the last 60 years, the human race has been drip-fed images of my face on lunchboxes and t-shirts and shit. It's in case our species do meet, you don't have a fucking spaz attack.
Gungans,
right?
Even the technology, they can hollow out water. They could do that also in the abyss as well.
Yeah. But I'm like, things.
The what?
The abyss. Another James Cameron film.
Yeah.
You mean the abyss?
Yeah.
The abyss.
But it's like, it's things like that, and I think about it, and I'm like,
fucking, dude, I love you, man. I fucking love you, dude.
Yeah, you got freaking Pacific Rim, where they're like, in the ocean, they can make a rift that brings these alien beings to our world. You've got Godzilla versus Kong, and Godzilla X Kong.
And Monarch basically is the same thing.
Monarch, where it's like, in the center of the earth is hollow, and there are these things that exist there, like creatures that evolved completely differently to how we expect them to. And then you've got things like, what was that movie, Moonfall, where it was like the moon is like a superstructure.
Oh, was that the Roland Emmerich film?
Yeah,
yeah.
That
I never saw that.
Neither did I.
But it's a thing where it's like the moon is a superstructure,
Right.
And it has like a power source and all the stuff. But it was like, the point of it was that the ocean essentially is not being explored on purpose. That is purposely not being explored because people explored it, saw some shit, and was like, we'll never have the technology to deal with that.
Fuck this.
Right.
So we're not going again. And whilst it's a wild conspiracy, it's something that is just in my head now.
Do you believe in like mermen?
Yes, because I believe in things like sirens.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because I think as well, it's like, you know, when you have almost all water-faring civilizations have similar tales, no matter how separated their cultures are. And it's things like mermen or sirens. Sirens are real big in ancient Greece. They talk of sirens. But every culture seems to talk to a degree about mermaids. Why? Why does all these cultures that never had contact with each other until this certain point seem to have similar backstories about this? Or, you know, I'm not talking about that, but you've got like pyramids, the structures of pyramids and the structures of certain temples. You got ones in Mexico, or like Inca and things like that. You've got them in Thailand.
Slow your roll, big fella, because that's where I'm going.
Oh, you better slow your roll, big fella. This is the original 5 Fingers of Death right here.
I know, but we've got things like that exist in cultures that never touched each other. And I'm like, okay, but why is it the ocean is where we draw the line? We can go to space and we can all like believe, whether you believe or not.
It's a different world to us, though.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like, just like space, we can't exist there. So it's just so much hidden away by the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such a powerful force. The majority of our planet's covered in it. And like the amount of secrets that are being like that you'll never see because they're under there. You know, hidden, lost civilizations, lost. You know, like that's where they found that fuck, I don't know what it's called, but it's like that weird Greek computer thingy.
Oh,
or
hexadecimal,
anthropomorphic something. Can't fucking remember what it's called.
Yeah.
It's a weird name.
Anthropomorphic.
No, it's not anthropomorphic. It's a word that sounds like that. I can't remember what it was called. But could you just double check for me? It's like, just think of it like, just say like computer found, like navigation device found in the ocean. Greek, it's like an old Greek navigation device, but it's like technology that mapped out the stars that they should not have had.
Like they shouldn't have been able to believe in the
stars. And they found it at the bottom of the ocean somewhere. And then like, yeah, it's just weird, man. There's so many things at the bottom of the ocean. You have the Baltic Sea anomaly that I was going to talk about as well, which kind of latches onto you. Do you know what that is? The Baltic Sea anomaly? Oh, dude.
And
yeah, I won't go too much into it for you, but the Baltic Sea anomaly. What are you doing? Are you playing a video on your phone into the mic?
No, so it's. I found the thing you're talking about, and it said it out loud.
Oh.
It's Antique. I can't pronounce it.
Spell it.
ANTIKYTHERA.
Yeah, that's really
Antikythera something, right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, but it's a mechanism discovered by divers in 1901.
Yeah.
1901. They discovered it in 1901.
And it started. So what happened is it immediately started to deteriorate when they pulled it out of the water. It started to oxidize and deteriorate. So they put it in some like, I don't know, distilled water or whatever to keep it from like destroying itself. But that piece of technology is technology that, technically speaking, the shipwreck it was found in should not have had that piece of technology. Because in the times it doesn't make sense according to our timelines, which is something I'll touch on when we're going on when it's my eventual turn to go through. But the point is, like, even just look at like Commander Fravor when he, you know, when off the SS Nimitz, right, when they were chasing that Tic Tac in the sky.
Yes.
Right, and then they saw it. They had these like fighter jet pilots are saying that this is Tic Tac's anomaly that they're chasing in the sky, that they scrambled these F-16s to engage it, and they could lock onto it, and they were chuffed that they could lock onto it.
There's troubleshooting as soon as I get.
Did you box moving target?
No, I took an auto track.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Wow, look at
But it wasn't. They found it floating in the ocean. It was just floating above the water, and it looked like there was something else underneath it, underneath the surface of the water. And then this thing's floating above it, and it's just floating there, not giving out any heat, no propulsion, no nothing. And from 0 to 100 goes boom, boom, and then moves in ways that
it shouldn't be able to
it
move.
Shouldn't be. It defies the laws of physics.
The
the way it moved. And people think that they've started to see these things go into the fucking water now.
Yeah, there was like 14 of them. There was it was one of the things that I looked up, and there was a time where there's like I think it was a submarine, and it tracked like 14 of them, like one after the other, all just like appearing, and then at a speed it shouldn't be able to travel, going from where it was to closer to this point. There's one point in the middle of the ocean, and then just be like, gone. Bam, bam, bam.
And they have said that, like, the US government has outright said that they are in possession of spacecraft that is not of this world.
Yeah.
Like, they have said it, right? So that's essentially what we've just disclosed is aliens exist because if we didn't build it, somebody else built it, right? Whether they're interdimensional beings from the future, other versions of ourselves.
Yeah, that theory goes around as well.
Whatever the fuck it is someone has built spacecraft. You know, you got the Roswell 1947, the Roswell incident, the whole Men in Black thing. You know, people like so many conspiracies we're going about. I mean, we've only got a limited amount of time that we can go on, but yeah, sorry, go on.
But my whole big thing to kind of close it out it's just like we've got. Because the thing that I don't get...
There's a lot of things in life your ass just don't get. Yeah, like pussy and respect.
Is the number one thing preventing us, a human race, from exploring the ocean is the pressures of the ocean.
It's a lot.
However, we live in a world where we can make. If we know the pressure is there and we have mathematicians, are you telling me you can't come up with something or build a ship, just a ship that has enough propulsion and has enough density of its metal that we can just travel down there? Because every time when I'm like, oh, they sent when they've sent probes down there and it gets to a certain depth and then disappears, and obviously I can imagine, all right, it's built to be a certain thickness, certain density, certain strength. It gets to a depth that is greater than itself and it just crushes.
Yeah, it crushes.
Right? They can build all this stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah.
They choose not to.
And that's my thing, is why are they choosing not to? Because all of that talk of like, anybody who says something is like, it's not financially viable, you're a liar.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Connected to free energy as well, though, isn't it?
I promise you, if you can explore something, you can make it, you can monetize it, and if you can monetize it, then it's financially viable. Because the second you can create something that's going to generate more money, it becomes financially viable. So you telling me we can't explore the oceans? The only reason human existence, in all of human existence, the only reason we stop doing something is when we're afraid to.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Also, just FYI, you said something earlier about the Hollow Earth thing.
Yeah.
So the Hollow Earth thing, I actually remember, just as you were talking, I remember there's an account, and Joe can bring it up. There's an account of this like explorer who flew over Antarctica.
Yes.
And said that he saw a whole like civilization in the middle of Antarctica.
Yeah, green hills,
mountains
no
and
snow,
hills
nothing,
and everything like that. Yeah, and he was like, it's like, and there was a huge hole that went down into the middle.
Yes,
and a lot of people like tried to discredit that, and a lot of like there's really old maps that map out Antarctica before Antarctica was discovered.
Yeah.
and they map it out accurately and its locations. And there's, you know, this we start going down the whole like fucking flat Earth theory, and then the ice wall, and what are they hiding, and all this weird stuff. But I just thought it was poignant to mention.
Yes,
while Joe brings the name of that guy up. That was it's just poignant to mention that. I remember that fucking story, and I thought, Jesus Christ, that's crazy. And like, again, these are all conspiracy theories, guys. And I know that we finished our last episode talking about skinwalkers, so that is going to be one of the things I'm going to end on, because I'm not going to go next. It's going to be Joe. And yeah, I mean, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Are you done wrapping up, or do you got more you want to go for?
Pretty much done, but there was one thing I did remember when you were talking about that whole, the guy flying over the Antarctica.
That's right, yeah.
Scene of that. It did remind me, because again, when I was talking, I was like, whatever the thing is to do with gravity that stops things growing beyond a certain size, there was a thing, it happened, I believe it was World War II, where there was a guy, I think they were in a helicopter. It's this general or just high up military individual and his like co-pilot or like his gunner and his spotter, and they were in their aircraft. Like I'm saying helicopter because I believe it was a helicopter, but they were in a aircraft of some kind, and they were flying over, I think it was in Africa. And there's like they basically flew over it, and the guy's looking down, and he was like, "Is that a fucking snake?"
Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah,
right?
It's a huge. It looks like a huge snake, like the picture that he took, right?
Yes.
It's like a black and white photo, right?
Yeah.
I've seen it, dude.
Yeah, and I'm like, I haven't seen this picture, but I've heard the tale of it. I think not you. I think it was Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But it was like they're flying over this thing, and they do one pass, and then they go around, do a second pass, and then get lower. And it's like the third time they do a pass, and they're like, yeah, it's definitely a snake. This fucking thing like strikes out and like attacks their helicopter. Now, if you are a fucking aircraft, I don't recall an aircraft being small enough to get attacked by a snake. So if this thing is big enough to say, you're not so big that I can't deal with you, that's a big
there's a whole thing that says like, that talks about, because you've mentioned a few things, so I'm going to touch on it. So you talked about like aliens like underwater, and you talked about Hollow Earth, but have you heard about the alien bases under the ground?
Yeah, I've heard about those.
So, am I going to interrupt on what you're saying? Because I don't want to. So there's a few interactions where like government agents have gone down. Apparently, there's these like giant aliens that live in like Costa Mesa or whatever the fuck it is,
right?
And like basically where there's like sort of like an unwritten agreement. So the story that I heard, and I've actually found like some of these interviews on like Instagram, TikTok and stuff like that, where this like soldier, this like doctor, CIA agent, whatever, he went down into one of these bases, and he's like, yeah, let's go down there, and so they started like building, they started to build like bases underground,
right,
and like mountains. And he goes down, and then he has to he gets briefed by the team. They're like, listen, there's some shit you're going to see when you go down there. And he's like, okay, I'll just take a gun then, and then I'll take some of the soldiers with him. And he goes down, and they get to this huge door that they've been building. And behind the huge door, that door opens, and a huge being in the dark is standing there. And he's like, oh shit. And then and then the soldiers that he's with, they raise their weapons, and they're like, something's weird, and they're like, do you not see the other guys standing around him, the big beings but around him? And then he remembers saying there were these huge red-headed beings, and it's almost as if like, because it goes back to stuff in the Bible, right? Because in the Bible, angels had sex with humans and then created giants. That's what Goliath is. Goliath is the son of an angel. And so a lot of people believe that that's a thing, and you had these red-headed giants that fought the Native Americans, and Native Americans truly believe in these red-headed giants, and that giants still exist. And it kind of works with the large animal thing as well, because if you go back a long time ago, there was a lot more oxygen in the environment, which helped things grow bigger. Even if you had like 2% more oxygen saturation in our current environment, you would see larger people.
Right.
Because obviously your body has more oxygen to grow, right?
Yeah.
So you would see that kind of stuff. It's just crazy shit, man. There's loads of crazy stuff. But anyway, Joe, did you find anything about that thing I talked to you?
No, there are a lot of wiki pages on that subject, and lots of people who said things. I couldn't find a direct person you were quoting.
They all contradict each other.
Yeah, and it was like, if I was going to go through this, I would need to take some time to really sift through it. But about the civilization, it said a lot about that, but it was so many different people's perspectives on that. So I didn't find the guy you were talking about, but there is reference to that says that. As opposed to that, what was it? So, are we done with that? Or
Your turn, yeah.
Okay. So I was just going to talk about the whole CIA MK Ultra program.
So tell people, for people who don't know what MK Ultra is.
Yeah.
So MK Ultra was this. Would they call it a study or a psyop?
Yeah, experiment. Well, study experiments.
Yeah. That was, I guess, started in sometime in the 50s and then went all the way up into the 70s. I don't know if it was blackboard then or stopped or continued in secret, but Charles Manson, and that whole incident is connected to that. It's wild in terms of
scope and scale.
Yeah, scope and scale. What they were trying. I mean, it would take you months to get through the wealth of things that they were doing for those 20 years or so. And
I got nothing but time.
One thing that caught my attention was the mind control. Being able to control other people, able to control objects, able to control.
Because from what I understand, the MK Ultra was very much like they take some next prayer, and they're like, "Rah, okay, you're susceptible to this kind of like."
Yeah, but that's just one side. That's one side of it.
Them to do things, and then you say like a word.
Yeah.
And then they switch into this like next psycho mode, and then they go and do their programming. So they've been like programmed. So say for example, I take Neil and I put him in a room, and I have my way with him. I take Neil and I put him in a room, and then we reprogram Neil in his like subconscious through torture, through loads of manipulation techniques, and we break him and then rebuild him.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. But I don't want to spend a lot of money.
To like where he has this like who Neil is today, but then there is this other level of like programming in his mind where I would say, I don't know, the word pineapples. Yeah.
My safety word is pineapples. That's my word. Pineapples. The reason why I use pineapples because I don't like saying shit like stop, get the fuck off me, let me go. I don't like it because it makes me look like a bitch. Pineapples, different. I told you what it is. We both understand the meaning of the word.
And then he would switch and then kill every white person around him. Without any thought. Like, you know, we've programmed him in a way mentally to that is the way he's going to behave when he hears specific behavioral things that trigger him. Yeah? That's the way I see it. Anyway, am I wrong? Or
No, you're right. You're right. But I was going to say, for those people who are really baffled right now, just think Winter Soldier in the MCU.
Right, yeah.
You say a bunch of words and he goes from like Bucky Barnes, who's like, you know, like I'm a regular person, to Winter Soldier, kill everybody in sight.
So that's y'all got to what you charge.
Yeah, and that's. I'm guessing that was the Charles because I only ever heard of the Charles Manson side of that's why I first heard of it. Is that it was a whole CIA
thing. They made a movie about it with Jesse Eisenberg as well.
Yeah, I think they did. Was it Jesse Eisenberg?
Yeah, it was Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah.
Was it the one called The Experiment, or
no,
was
it's
it
called
American
MK
Ultra?
American Ultra.
American Ultra.
Yeah.
With
Jesse Eisenberg.
And Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart. Yeah. And I never got.
He was in a film called Underwater.
Oh yeah,
which is great.
Which came up in my damn research.
Of course it would.
Right, when people talk about Cthulhu,
Oh, right.
Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. Go on, sorry, go on.
And I didn't know H.P. Lovecraft was a racist.
Yeah.
Oh, bro,
Yeah.
listen, look.
I had no idea.
You know what? When it comes to racism, to pause on it, when it comes to racism, you are a product of the time you were.
Sure.
raised.
Yeah.
If you were around in like the 1920s,
yeah,
and
you're probably
lived in
racist.
America, and you know, it was like you were understandable that black people was segregated from white people and they could only use colored toilets and colored cinemas and all of that stuff, right? If it was normal that you existed then, you'll have a kind of
disposition.
You'll have a disposition towards that stuff.
Yeah.
That's not a excuse, right? Like racism is racism, but it means that I can understand if you feel a certain way.
Yeah, what the mindset of that person in that era. Yeah.
Right? So all of them dudes like.
That's what we need. We need a Matthew McConaughey to come and fix that shit. Come and tell us. Now imagine that girl is white.
Now imagine she's white.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
Time
film is
to Kill.
that?
Time to Kill, the end of it.
Yeah.
Great film. Watched it the other day. Great film.
It's a hard film to watch, man. Just in terms of the subject matter.
Yeah.
But
yeah, sorry, go on. Sorry.
So yeah, I mean that was one aspect of it. The whole Manson family, how they tried to. Okay, let's use LSD and using LSD to either subject someone's mind into being in a certain state so they're more susceptible, and Charles Manson was this guinea pig that they used to, hence why he went on this killing spree, and it was like can we control him to do this? Okay, yes, we can you're going.
Sorry, I was saying the wild thing is, did he actually physically kill anyone?
No, and that's the thing, he got other people to do it.
He was basically Jigsaw before Jigsaw.
I want to play a game.
Right? He made more. I was like, yo, you killed this person. Nah, that was Rex.
Wasn't me.
I looked right in your face.
Wasn't me.
Well, I'm supposed to be a fool, right?
Hey. Wasn't me.
I didn't do nothing. I suggested.
Yeah.
He should kill that person.
Was the phrase you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink? I said, look, I told him where he lived. I didn't tell him to kill him.
yeah, exactly. And that just the CIA as a
entity.
Body is fucking fascinating.
Technically speaking, they shouldn't have even been doing shit like that because the CIA is supposed to deal with.
Domestic home.
Outside. So
Central Intelligence Agency is supposed to deal with like in external.
Foreign issues are supposed to domestic. Domestic's FBI. NSA.
And NSA. Yeah.
When you was talking,
and Homeland Security.
Yeah. When you was talking, right, and you was talking about like how they used Manson as their experiment and the things with LSD. The what's his name? The book by Stephen King. Firestarter.
Oh, right, yeah.
The parents, so the girl is Charlie, I believe. Charlie, her parents take part in like a medical trial where they get given a drug and it's like souped up LSD and it gives her parents powers, and that is what leads to her having her abilities.
Her psychokinetic power.
And I was like, the amount of times I've seen when people talk about like these drug trials that they had in like the 60s, the 70s, where they give people stuff and they said these people were like, oh, it just made John go crazy.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, nah, John's not gone crazy. He's just living on a different
spectrum.
Now,
yeah.
Well, look,
right?
I mean, look, put it this way: a lot of people believe that like some of you might be watching this going, God, these guys are talking nonsense. Yeah,
that's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
But if the U.S. government believed in it at some point, Google Project Stargate. Project Stargate was during, like, I want to say World War II.
Yeah.
They were the U.S. government were actually, you know, he'll have it in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, I've got it.
You got it? Read out what Project Stargate is.
The Stargate project was a secret U.S. Army unit established in 1978 at Fort Meade, Maryland. Fort Meade, okay, sorry. By Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, and SRI International, a California control to investigate the potential for psychic phenomena in military and domestic intelligence applications.
What they were doing was they were taking people who they thought had like ESP, which is extrasensory perception, right? And they would take them and run experiments on them to see if they could utilize those applications in battle.
It's basically what Akira's about.
Yeah. And that's what they were trying to do. And the US government gave it, and they poured billions into it, and then they said it was a huge failure and it never worked.
I don't fucking believe that. Say men who stare at goats.
Yeah.
Right?
And I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all, because that's where that comes from. Men who stare at goats was because they would force them to stare at goats, see if they could kill a goat with their mind.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we bringing this up, right? And you said that Stargate started in the 70s. The Project Stargate in the 70s.
Not Stargate.
The show. Yeah.
The show.
Now, the wildness of that is the fact that I remember hearing that Hitler had tried that shit on people, like people he'd captured. He tried that shit on them during World War II.
Yeah, he did that. Him and Joseph Mengele. Yeah, they did all kinds of fucked up shit to people during the fuck, man.
Now the wildness is, think this: you got these people who did that. World War II ends. A lot, way more people than they'll ever admit, defected. When some went to the UK, some went to
the US.
The majority went to the US. Now, the ones who went to Argentina were the ones who were like, I'm not doing shit with nobody. I'm going into hiding. Right?
Yeah. They went to they created a place called Salina Dignidad.
Yeah. Which is why, for those who don't know, when you look at South and Central America, every other country has people who go from Christina Aguilera complexion to like Pele complexion, right?
Yeah.
Except Argentina. Argentina is virtually one complexion. It's like one straight line almost, where everyone else is up and down, up and down.
Do you want to know what? That's why Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers is set in Argentina. And that's why all the soldiers look like they're dressed in Gestapo. Because he's making
he's making a highly suggestive.
He's suggesting that the future is like an alternate future.
Fascist,
And yes, it is a fascist state. So if you want to become a citizen, you want to vote, you need to serve. You know, and even the propaganda and everything. But like look at the higher ups; they're all dressed like Gestapo soldiers.
Even at the end with Neil Patrick Harris, he's literally dressed as an SS.
So I mean, he's dressed like a Gestapo soldier. So it's in like military intelligence. So it's all kind of linked. It's just funny how it all comes around in circles. But sorry, MK Ultra.
Yes, please.
I mean, we covered quite a bit in terms of, because we've got 10 minutes left.
Okay.
What? Oh.
Yeah. So, just, I mean, that's just scratching the surface of that. My fascination of it, there's so much information on it, and so
more than
many,
we can cover in an hour.
So many documents, and just it touches on so many things that conspiracy theories that lead to MK Ultra, and there's this YouTuber that had this. He went down this rabbit hole and he found like these really disturbing websites that are possibly connected to Epstein, but it's like almost like these dark web websites that send you down this rabbit hole. And he warns you, only do this if you
have nothing else to do.
No, if you
got nothing to live for, if you're willing for somebody to kill you for knowing a piece of information.
Yeah, basically. And I remember watching it with my ex. My ex got really scared because it was the websites that it leads to are really just, they're hidden in other websites. So like if you like highlight it and then change the color scheme to something, it gives you a link to something else, and that link sends you to this like dancing woman in numbers, and it has this word that's just being repeated over and over again. And if you click on a certain part of that, it takes you to another website that has a list of names which are connected to lots of different people in different parts of different departments in the government, and it goes all the way back to the 80s, or it's just a whole list of people, and these links go to specific places which he didn't specify, but he said if you want to go down it, you're free to. And that's what it's so chilling, it's so disturbing that it has to be real.
And it's real! Oh my god, this whole thing is real!
The more disturbing something is, the more real I think it is. And so just to wrap that whole thing up, it's a giant thing waiting to. I feel over the next few years we're just going to get more and more stuff, even from just that situation, the MK Ultra situation, as opposed to other undoxed or undocumented things that haven't been realized yet. But yeah, I'm leaving it at
Can
that.
I just ask a question? What's our time check?
It's 43 minutes 30 seconds. So
It's 43 minutes.
So you got 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay. If we don't cover enough, who here? And this is. I'm just putting this out there now. You guys want to do a part 2?
Yes.
Yeah. You want to do a part 2?
Because what you have to talk about is longer than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I have questions.
So I might not even talk about all of that shit right now.
Yeah.
I might just talk about other shit,
All
which
right,
I know
so
about.
Yeah, we could.
Because what I wanted to talk about, I'll tell you what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Baltic Sea anomaly.
Yes, I don't want to hear about that.
Okay, and which I can tell you that now. That was not a long one. I want to talk about lost civilizations. So everything to do with the pyramids, Göbekli Tepe, all the way things were built, and that is a way longer conversation, which I want to talk about, and I think I'm going to leave that for a part 2, so guys can come back and watch that in part 2 if you want to come back and watch it. But like, this is not a normal Delinquent Chronicles episode. This is us just talking. With just how we would normally talk about some fucking conspiracy theory shit that we fucking believe in, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff that we could try to cover on here, and I'm not going to go too much into it. But if you guys want to do a part 2, I think we want to do a part 2.
Yeah.
I'd love to do a part 2, so we can do a part 2. It's not a problem. Baltic Sea anomaly. Right. So I'll put a picture up for people who don't know what it is. But the Baltic Sea anomaly is like these guys were out in the Baltic Sea and they were diving. They were using their sonar, and then their sonar started to fuck up. But they started to find a lot of. They started to find like a bunch of like readings, right? And the readings kept coming up that there was this large disc-shaped figure under the water, and it looked like it had a trail behind it, as if it had landed in the ground and then skidded across.
Oh, okay.
But all their like tech wasn't working around it, and they were like, "Why is it all fucking up?" So they were like, "Okay." So they sent divers down there to this thing, right, in the cold fucking water, deep down in the fucking Baltic Sea, to go look at this thing. And it was just this, they couldn't see it because it was all murky and all like, what's going on? You're looking at the screen.
Yeah, just, I thought I saw something in the corner of my eye and I did want to see
okay, cool.
Camera went off, yeah.
I thought something happened.
No.
Jesus, or the government shut down. Like, nope, not today.
First time it was Jesus.
Yeah.
Next
time it's Will Smith.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So they didn't know what it was. It's just called the Baltic Sea anomaly. So they were like, okay. And then in their scans, they could see that it looks like it's got physical steps, right? And what did we learn from Prometheus? God does not create
in straight lines.
Right there. God does not build in straight lines.
Wait.
Creating straight lines, my friend. And it had like all these like straight steps on it that looked like you could walk up it. And it's just a huge disc thing that kind of looks like the Millennium Falcon. So it's just saying it kind of looks like it. But it's just this disc-shaped thing. So they went back and they were like, we're gonna go get some like real fucking technology, yeah? And they went and got some real like hardcore technology, got some funding, got a whole fucking thing, and they sent a bunch of probes down and a bunch of technology they were using, and all that shit just stopped working around it, which kind of like gives credence to like, you know, when people. And here's the thing that annoys me. We filmed it. Okay, so we filmed this on fucking 15 Pro Max, yeah. Most people have high-end phones now, right? Yeah. So they video shit. It's usually good quality unless it's compressed by whatever platform you're using to post it up on. But when people film UFOs, they're always filmed like it looks like it's out of a potato. Yeah.
Like it's in, like,
Always. But that lends credence.
Yeah,
That lends
yeah.
credence to the fact that maybe these things don't want to be filmed.
Right.
And when you try to film it, because there have been some government whistleblowers, right, who have said that these things give off a certain level of electromagnetism,
Right.
that make it that when you try to film it, it looks blurry.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like what.
It's a
what
leap of
can
faith.
you believe, right? Do you believe in a? So the Baltic Sea anomaly could be a crash, and this thing is ancient, by the way, just FYI. So if this thing is a ship, it's very old.
Right.
Very old. Like fossilized old.
Right.
Because when they took samples off it, so they've taken samples off it, it is just stone.
Right.
But then, you know, we found fossilized pieces of poo, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think time takes its toll on everything eventually, yeah? But how old is this thing? What the fuck is it? They still kind of don't know. Sorry, go on. Sorry,
To
who
jump
wants to
in
talk?
for a second, right? As you guys know, I like to relate things to films and whatnot. Now, what you just said immediately made me think of Man of Steel.
Yeah, makes sense.
In Man of Steel, right, when like the US and Canadian government find the ship, the Kryptonian ship, and they're like, the ice around it is like 10,000 years old. And it makes you think, so 10,000 years ago they came to Earth to whatever, terraform it, do whatever to Earth. They came here to do that. They crashed or whatever happened, things didn't go well for them, and 10,000 years later humans discovered it. So
Can I just
like,
point something
how
out real
wild
quick?
is the-
Sorry, real quick. Just want to point something out real quick, yeah? This is where I have problems with, like, this bullshit, yeah? I'll tell you why. Because if I gave you a USB stick 30 years ago...
Shit probably don't work right now.
Huh? Shit ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
If I gave you a USB stick from now, 30 years ago, it ain't gonna work. If you gave me technology from 30 years ago now, I ain't got nowhere to plug that shit in. So how the fuck does that little USB stick thingy that they've got work in the shit that's 10,000 years old? Tell me.
What USB thing?
No, their USB thing is from Krypton.
I understand. The little So the little thingy that Clark Kent has
Around his neck
works in a ship that's 10,000 years older than him.
This is
But
why
I would say one thing I would say about that is I can imagine that because we live in a world, a society where we are ever evolving, because we're nowhere near as smart as we think we are, versus people who already reached the peak of their intelligence.
So you're saying that civilization can reach its peak and will never go further?
No, it's not that it will never go further, but I'm like imagine. Well, think of it like this, right? Nokia 3210 is in no way, shape, or form the peak of a mobile phone.
But in principle, it works the same way.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
No, you are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
But yeah, so you're thinking it like that.
Connectivity issues, though, so I'm just going to put that out there.
Also, I think it was easier with just going off the Superman thing, that when it was crystal form, there was no other explanation needed, because it was just it was beyond our understanding. This thing can build that's
why I'm talking about Man of Steel, because my man had a little USB stick. Essentially.
Yeah,
that's what I call it. I call it USB stick.
One thing that wows me is
at least he didn't have to keep turning it around like I do normally.
No. What I would have loved is he pulled it out. Right? He pulled it out. It didn't work.
That'd be good comedy
but the technology works seamlessly though. Like, so the holograph technology works the same way as the current holograph technology that the other people had on their ship. Because Jor-El helped Lois Lane get off that ship, and it's the same tech that's used. So like, did the Kryptonians just like reach a point and they went, meh,
we're good,
we got it, we're here. Why fix it if it ain't broke? You know.
But I was gonna say, the thing that wows me out is everything that we're talking about, in some way, shape, or form, I've seen some level of it in a film.
Mm-hmm.
And I do hold my conspiracy belief is that if you show people something enough in fiction, when it happens in real life, they are desensitized enough to it.
They're prone to accept it more.
To accept it.
Can I ask you a quick question? Can you Google on your phone when the SRS Blackbird went into
1961?
Just double check it.
Ooh, Joe was like, I don't need the phone for this. I got that one. That's in a mental Rolodex in the front page.
Come on. Okay, they updated it. It's not giving me a date here. Wait a second.
Or is it giving you a date and the date is just not 1960 something?
It says 1999, which I know isn't true.
Way before that. Because it's a funny story.
1964.
1964. Okay. Roswell, New Mexico was 1943 or 47. Double check that.
Roswell, Mexico.
Roswell was in the 50s.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 1957. Roswell was
47, 57.
I thought it was 50.
Y'all could be completely wrong.
Because I thought it was long before, long after
the World War.
Space crash. It was.
Just the Roswell incident occurred when?
1947. We're both.
1947. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Dead on.
So yeah, just after
World War II. I was like, I'm sure it was 1947 because I've read a book about the incident recently. Okay, Roswell incident, 1947.
Yeah.
1950 what? 1960 whatever for the SRS Blackbird.
1964. Yeah.
1964. Okay, so think about they created the Blackbird, right?
Yeah.
I have no doubt about this. Yeah, they created the U.S. Air Force created the Blackbird using alien technology.
I believe it.
There's no fucking way you can go from Bulldog fighter jets that they were using, Bulldog planes, not even jets, Bulldog planes that were using in World War II to fight the Nazis.
To that
in such a small period of time.
Yeah.
To the fastest plane that has ever existed.
As well as Concorde.
No, it's faster than Concorde.
Yeah, I know it's faster than Concorde, but that's
because there's a funny story about the Blackbird pilot that says the Blackbird pilot was over, like, I can't remember specifically, he was over like Irish airspace, and then he sneezed, and then when he recovered from his sneeze, he was over Dutch airspace.
Wow!
Like, that's how fast that thing moves, right? So he's like, achoo! And now he's already further across. That's how fast that plane was. To tell me that the fastest plane ever existed, ever made, ever designed, was designed between, like, that's such a small period of time.
Between the 40s
crazy.
And the 70s.
Crazy
60s,
shit.
20 years.
Crazy shit. And like, you think of like innovation, right? The way innovation has gone. And I think this touches on what I was going to talk about. I will touch upon it now, but we'll talk about it a bit more later. Which was like the Mud Flood series, Zero Century. You know, the Void, it's called Void Century, which is actually touched upon in One Piece, right?
But the Dark Ages.
The Void Century is in the 1800s, right? Where you see, like, they had these huge, large buildings, and you see a lot in the Chicago World Fair of 1983, right? These huge, large, like, feats of technology that we were doing. And then they whitewashed it, so they sprayed everything right, so you couldn't tell how old it was.
Right.
And then they're saying, we have all these huge, beautiful buildings, and they built this in 2 years. And then all these people like went and saw at the Chicago's World Fair all the future technology. Apparently, Tesla was lighting things up using wireless electricity and all this. And
Tesla, not the company.
I know.
Tesla as in Nikola.
Yeah.
You can never find truth. All you can do is find false. Drop it and get rid of it, and eventually when you can't get rid of any more false, what you're left with is the truth. How much false can you find? And there's lots in history. I was looking around the internet and came across the images of the 1893 Chicago World Exposition. And it blew my mind because it looked like ancient Rome in the middle of downtown Chicago. And as I looked at it further, well, here's another one in Philadelphia, here's another one in St. Louis, in Buffalo, San Francisco. And then as soon as they were done, they tore them all down and threw them in the garbage. That just told me there's something wrong with all of these. The story of the expositions is a gigantic lie. And I think it's so huge of a lie because I think they're right at a bridge point when so many things about the 1800s that seem strange and weird, right as this sort of period ends of unbelievable strangeness, and all of a sudden these fairs spring up all over the world with impossible buildings we're talking about, which are colossal structures. Chicago built 700 acres of fair in supposedly less than 2 years. St. Louis built 1,200 acres of exposition buildings. One of the buildings in Chicago, the manufacturer's building, would house 300,000 people. There's a giant statue in the middle of the lagoon. It was called the Golden Lady, and it was known as the Statue of the Republic. It was 65 feet tall. They say it was covered in gold leaves that had copper underneath, but others speculate it was actually made out of solid gold. So you're talking 65-foot high, potentially solid gold statue. We're talking giant structures and looking like ancient Rome with towers and domes and columns and the most fine, ornate pieces to them in these record, unbelievable times. Then as soon as they're done, chuck them in the garbage. Like Jackson Park is a swamp. So supposedly they had to drive down tens of thousands of wooden stakes in order to support the weight of everything. They dug out massive lagoons, lakes. They had a canal system that ran through the entire exposition. They also had an above-ground electric train. An electric train, where's the electricity coming from, that's running around the park? They had a moving walkway down by the shore. Not enough people are asking, where does this technology come from?
Just to frame it, if I'm not mistaken, the Chicago Fair was the first time people had seen electric light.
Tesla's the one who got the electricity contract for the Chicago Exposition, and it was certainly more than all of the lights anyway that were in New York City at the time were at the Chicago Exposition.
Now, it must have been mind-blowing for most of those people who had only seen gaslight or candlelight at night to see that city lit up in such a way. Again, now, it was 1901. We are told, whether it's true or not, the idea of being able to electrically do anything hasn't been around that long.
And this fair is bizarre. This is supposed to be Tesla's fair, where he managed to somehow move electricity from Niagara Falls to Buffalo for the fair. No one's really explained how he actually did that. And at the middle of the fair is a 395-foot high electrical tower, on top of which, of course, is a female golden statue called the Goddess of Light. And this thing was lit up by, some suggest, 500,000 electric light bulbs. Again, when you look at the photos of this thing, it's just, where do they really get the power from?
I mean, think of what it would take today if you had a place with no electricity and no way to pipe it in, the generators that would have to be built.
For example, there's a building that went up for the Barcelona Exposition in 1888. It was claimed to be the fastest built building in the world, 5,000 square meters, capacity for 2,000 guests, 600 rooms, 30 apartments, and it was supposed to be built in 53 days. This is supposed to be a time of horse and buggy. The 2-year building times are actually impossible unless the two most likely theories would be either A, they had a technology that they're not supposed to have, and it really was built in that time frame. Even if they built them, they had to build them out of marble and stone in record time, or the buildings were already there. They'd been there for hundreds or thousands of years, fixed up, refurbished, repainted, hence the term whitewashed, which is the term that was used for the Chicago Exposition, which was paint all the buildings with this brand new spray paint that they had just developed to spray paint all the buildings in record time, so you couldn't tell if anything was old or anything was new.
How long did these things tend to stay open? When they built these things, supposedly over 2 years, which is the narrative, how long were they there for?
6 months.
6 months for the public to come.
And then what was amazing, for example, in St. Louis, 2 days after the fair ended, they brought in a demolition team from Chicago with explosives and blew the thing up. They actually used dynamite to blow it up, and they say threw it in landfills. Things like the World Fairs shows there was a time in our past, and even not that far in our past, where humans seemed to be at a completely higher level. Human living and human knowledge were constructed into the buildings using cymatics, using sacred geometry. These fairs, they're so important to study because the history that we know right now as history was invented at the time these fairs were going on. One of their underlying nefarious purposes was to teach a historical narrative to the population that they were supposed to believe and agree with. And scarily, the world we're walking into today is in some way has its origins during the time of these fairs.
So you think like all of that shit, that they were doing then, but was built by people who were like building, like didn't know how to build roads.
Yeah.
Because if you look at those pictures, you see those beautiful, huge, large buildings in New York, but then it's just like mud. Why do you think stoops exist? Do you know why? Stoops. You know, like New York. You know those stoops.
No. What?
You know what a stoop is, right? The stairs that lead up to the house.
Lead to the house, right?
In New York, on the streets, you know, like you got those, you know, like townhouses in London.
Yes. Yeah.
You know why those exist like that?
No. Oh, the horses, right?
Because of the horses in the mud.
Yeah.
So you're telling me these fuckers couldn't build roads when the Romans were building roads, but they could build these huge, large pillar buildings, like the fucking Grand Library in New York, or the Marylebone Library in London.
Yeah.
They could build these huge, massive buildings, right? But they're living in mud huts. Who are these? Like, look at the doors. Some of these doors are huge and massive. Yeah. Who are those doors built for? I argue that we found those buildings.
Yeah.
And it was because there's a theory that says it was like a civilization before us called the Tartarians, and I argue it was them that built that shit. And then because shit was free, like look at all the chrome, the copper tops on all these buildings. Why does they have that?
Yeah, copper tops.
Yeah.
They say it's for to channel channel
communicate. Sorry.
No. The copper tops. They say it's to channel the electricity from like thunder strikes. Yeah. But these buildings are cement, so they're not.
It's not going to carry.
You to add that on top is channeling it on purpose. Otherwise, it's got no reason. It's got not attracted to the concrete or cement.
And also, I think as well, when you think about things, right? This is my own crazy theory that I'm just throwing out there right now. We go from, horse and cart Victorian eras and times, right? And then we have slow progression to like
the motor car,
trains and motor cars, right? Then we have a world war, and most countries are clearly affected by this world war. Places got bombed, places got worn out, right? And then after that, we have a period of rebuilding. And we basically took a massive leap
in technology,
right? And I'm like, what if part of the world war was to hide a bunch of shit that you couldn't explain why it existed, so you basically either bombed it out of existence or got rid of something and then said, here's what we built in its place when that thing already existed.
Or what if one group of people were like, nah, we want to keep this shit, and another group of people were like, nah, you ain't keeping this shit. You're gonna stop us from getting rich. Look at the whole the inception of like the story behind
free electricity.
Not the free electricity. The fucking what's it called? The national the reserve.
Oh, right.
The story behind that.
National Reserve?
Yeah.
You're talking about the Federal Reserve?
Federal Reserve, that's it, the Federal Reserve.
And when I come back and bust your ass, we're locking David Ershon in the Federal Reserve.
You still didn't understand the concept.
Story behind that.
Well, where the gold is and shit.
No, but the Federal Reserve was founded by the Rothschilds and a bunch of other families, and two of the families were opposed to it, and those two families, and all those huge families were meant to go on the Titanic.
No way.
Yeah, and then I could be paraphrasing this incorrectly, but two of those families were meant to go on all those families meant to go Titanic. Two of them went there and they fucking died, and the other ones that wanted to do the Federal Reserve didn't go, and they lived.
Wow.
So, I mean, I've heard
we had that shit.
I've heard things about the Titanic was sunk on purpose.
Because for insurance
hit an iceberg and it was sunk, and I just heard it for insurance purposes.
Because it had a sister ship called the Olympus.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that also sunk,
called the Olympus, and that's like, I reckon that's one of the reasons why they don't want people to go down and commercially to check, because that shit will say Olympus on the fucking rudder or some shit.
They said it wasn't the Titanic that sank.
Right. Yeah, I heard that as well.
They said it was the Olympus. No. So the sister ship. Yeah. So what they did is they had the Titanic. They had the Olympus. And then the Titanic was so basically they sunk the Olympus and changed the names over for the insurance purposes. Which I think I'm going to close this on this from one of the biggest conspiracy theories. I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger. I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger, right? Because we didn't even talk about skinwalkers, but we'll talk about it in part 2 because we're definitely doing a part 2, right, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Right, boys. Okay, part 2, we're going to talk about it, but I'm going to just leave you on this cliffhanger now. The day before 9/11, the guy who owned the Twin Towers took insurance policies out on those Twin Towers, and the same day the Pentagon announced that they couldn't find $3 trillion of money and it was lost. 9/11 happens, the buildings crash, but what also gets attacked? Do you know? The Pentagon. The Pentagon got attacked. The Pentagon had a plane crash into it, of which there is fuck all evidence, no debris of a plane landing in the Pentagon, right? Only one you're telling me there's one camera that videoed all around the Pentagon that caught a plane, what looks like a missile flying into the side of that building, and where did that hit? It hit exactly where those records were kept. Where those $3 trillion might be, that is that place, that part of that building exploded, gone completely. Well, episode 11.
In the can.
In the can.
By the way,
we love you.
Please, government, listen. We're just taking the piss, alright?
We're just fucking around. We're just a couple of delinquents. Just fucking around.
Alright?
I've been L.
I've been nil.
I've been saucy delinquent.
Don't say your name, because you don't want the government to come after you. We love you. Part 2's coming up. Conspiracy theories. Delinquent Chronicles. It's coming. Episode 12. Mwah!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.